It's curious to me, at least. And the island is apparent. Before I start, I would like to say that I just started working on this, so any comment would be really appreciated. I'm going to talk about a Dravidian language that's spoken in South India. It's called Malayalam. And it's conventionally described as SOV, nominative accusative, WH in situ language. And like Japanese or other familiar WH in situ languages, Malayalam also shows intervention effects vis-a-vis WH, etc. And adjuncts are islands, at least apparently. So that's what I'm going to argue, that the island effects that we seem to obtain in Malayalam for WH interpretation is actually because of the inability for the WH to enter into a syntactic dependency with the relevant interrogative C head. And this happens because of the position of the phrasal adjunct rather than anything that pertains to the phrase itself. So the phrase does not include the boundary in that sense. So that's what I will try to convince you. These different contexts where you get an island effect for WH interpretation and where you don't get an island effect for WH interpretation, they pertain to two different constructions, which I would broadly call as thetic and categorical. It's only a very broad terminology because the categorical constructions are given in sentence 4 on your handout. Priyaye aana Rajan kantadu. So in this sentence you have a focus marker which marks the predication base and focus, aana. And then you have the rest of the sentence, Rajan kandadu, Rajan saw. And in the thetic-like construction, which is given in 3, you have Rajan priyaye kandu. So the verb shows tense inflection, but it does not show any 5-feature marking on it. So and it does not have the extra element ana in it. So this would be the very superfluous, obvious difference. And in the thetic-like construction, the verb always comes at the end. This will be important for us later. In the categorical construction, the constituents are more amenable to scrambling. So you can say, for example, in 7, like I've given variations of sentence 4 in 7 and 8. Rajan priyaye aanu kandadu. In 8, Rajan kandadu priyaye aanu. So you can move around the verb. You can actually place pretty much any constituent in front of the focus marker. So in 9, I have given an adjunct. In 9, Priyaye Rajan kandadu veetil vachu aanu. It's at home, roughly translating into English. It's at home that Rajan saw Priya. So you can have these kind of variations in the categorical construction. And WH behaves a little differently in these constructions. So in in section 4, I try to illustrate the in situ-ness of the WH in thetic constructions, in thetic-like constructions. So in 10, we have a object WH, Rajan are kandu. I have italicized the WH so that it's easier for you to see. So Rajan are kandu, who did Rajan see? So the object WH appears in its usual SOV position. And if you scramble it to the left, as in 11, are Rajan kandu, that's ungrammatical. So in 12, I have how did he see Rajan? And if you scramble the WH to the left, again ungrammatical. In 14, I have when did he see Rajan, etc. And one of the problems that has been discussed in the literature on Malayalam, if you are familiar with it, is that when you have a subject WH, things go a little haywire. So in 16, if I keep the subject WH in its SOV position and ask, Ara Rajane Kandu, that's out. So I have to ask, as in 17, Rajane Ara Kandu. But I'll show you that this does not really pose a problem for what I'm going to talk about, because the left edge in itself in Malayalam thetic-like constructions is a bit interesting. And so far we seem to get a general description or a generalization that a WH cannot occupy the left edge. So that's it would seem like that from this data, but that's not true. As in 18, we can see that how many people voted for Rajan, etra pair Rajana vote chedu. So that's fine. So it appears that if you have a WH that is somehow specific or delinked, then it can appear at the right edge. So the restriction seems to be that the left edge is for topics and a non-specific entity cannot occupy there. So if you have a bare WH that's not delinked or specific, then it can't occupy at that position. But again, I won't go into the details of that. It's in the handout. But then where exactly does the WH sit? Does it move to the C level at all? So that's the question that I am concerned with. And in 29, Rajane innale aaru kandu. So I have a subject WH that's appearing below a temporal adverb. So obviously, and in 30, I have, I tried to place the subject WH above the temporal adverb, and that leads to ungrammaticality. So obviously the WH does not move to the C domain. And that's what all I would like to say about the WH in thetic-like constructions, that a bare WH that's not specific or delinked does not move to the C domain. So that's all I want to point out right now about that. And in the categorical construction, the only important generalization seems to be that the WH phrase, if there is a WH phrase in a categorical construction, then it has to occupy the position that is focused, I mean, that is the predication base. So it has to go with the focus marker ana. So in 31, who aara aana Rajane kandathu. So you can see that the WH appears immediately before the focus marker. And in 32, for example, Rajane aana aaru kandathu. So if you have the WH appearing anywhere else other than the position immediately before the focus marker, the sentence is ungrammatical. And that seems to be the relevant point to make about WH in categorical constructions. And when we come to islands, both these constructions allow for different kinds of, or rather, a recent adjunct, like, for example, a because clause. A WH that's inside a because clause, if you have that in a thetic-like construction, you don't, the sentence is ungrammatical. But the because clauses are in itself, if they don't have a WH in it, then they are fine. So in 36, Mandri nirbandhichadu konda police avane arrest chedu. So Mandri nirbandhichadu konda, the phrase that I've put in brackets. So that's the adjunct, and sorry, and that is fine in a thetic construction. So the police arrested him because the minister forced them to act or something. But the moment you put a WH inside that adjunct, ആര് നിർബന്ധിച്ചത് കൊണ്ട് police അവനെ arrest ചെയ്തു, as in 37, the sentence is ungrammatical. In 38, I try to kind of control for the left edge restriction, and I move it from the left edge, but the sentence is still ungrammatical in a thetic-like construction. But when we come to the categorical construction, ആര് നിർബന്ധിച്ചത് കൊണ്ട് ആണ് പോലീസ് അവനെ അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്തത്, as in 39, the sentence is a perfect matrix question. So that's the phenomenon that I'm trying to figure out, and that's the phenomenon that I'm trying to convince you that it's because of the position that these islandhood results. So before I go into that, I would like to show a little or demonstrate a little bit more about the C domain in the thetic-like constructions and the categorical construction. So I already mentioned that in a thetic-like construction, the verb has to appear at the end of the sentence. So in any other position, if you scramble the verb from the right edge, then the sentence becomes ungrammatical, as I have illustrated from 40 to 46. In section 7. And then I'm going to, I was kind of wondering about the position of the left edge topic, because I mean, I belabored the point a little bit here, because there are arguments that in the literature that you can have a CP left periphery and a VP left periphery. So I just wanted to make sure that these topic positions are actually in the C level and not at the V level. So again, insert an adverb. So in 48 and 49, I show that the left edge topicalized elements actually occur above, fortunately, a sentential adverb, and they are at the C level. And now the question is, where exactly does the verb go? And here I would just confine myself to a very descriptive account without committing myself to any particular explanation like reprojecting or spanning or the verb spelling out various features. I mean, I would just show that the verb actually appears at the C level. In 50, I show a coordination structure from Malayalam, which is Rajane Priyayum, Meeraye Aniyanum Kandu. So in this construction, the subject and the object are the ones that are coordinated to the exclusion of the verb. And this kind of assuming that is constituents and similar constituents that can be coordinated, this is kind of surprising, because it would mean that Priya Rajan and Meera Aniyan saw. And I'm going to argue that this is because the verb leaves the VP, and then you coordinate the VP, and of course the verb is outside, and you get this as constituents. And is this because of, is this exactly what happens, or is it because of some kind of coordination reduction that this kind of a constituent appears in Malayalam? Well, I'll try to argue that it's not coordination reduction, because one, finite clauses cannot be conjoined in Malayalam. So if you have a sentence like 51, Rajane Priya Kandum, Meeraye Aniyan Kandum, that's really ungrammatical, so you can't do that. So it does not seem to be a case of coordination reduction. Even when you look at the alternative way to conjoin clauses, which is to use the non-finite form of the verb and use do support, as in 52, Priya Rajane Kanukayum, Aniyan Meeraye Kanukayum Chedu. So you have to use the non-finite form of the verb. And even here, coordination reduction is not possible. So in it's not 66, it's actually 52 prime. In the next example, if you omit one of the repeating verbs, that's ungrammatical. So it's not really a case of coordination reduction. And when the verb is in its finite form, you can't conjoin the sentences. So I believe that the verb moves out to moves out, and how high does the verb move if it moves out? So another adverb comes into the picture. I tried to insert an adverb again, fortunately, into the conjoined constituents, and I again insert a C-level adjunct, and the conjunction is absolutely, the coordination is absolutely possible. So the verb actually moves all the way up to C, it seems. So that's what I would like to show you in this section about thetic-like constructions, that the verb overtly moves to C. And vis-a-vis the categorical constructions, as I already mentioned, ana marks the predication base and focus. It also marks exhaustivity. It's the focus that it marks is actually exhaustive focus. So in 56, I give the coordination test from Sabolshi. Pailiyum Karambiyum ana vannathu. It's Paili and Karambi who came, and it's infelicitous to derive 56 from 55, that Paili ana vannathu, it's Paili who came. And if I want to follow up with the information in 56, then I have to negate 55 first and say, no, it is Paili who came. So it is exhaustive focus that is encoded here. And this interpretation is not because of a difference between collective and distributive interpretations either. So I use a very specifically distributive construction and show that it's not the distributive nature or versus collective nature of the coordinated elements that results in this infelicitousness. I show in 62, in the next page, Karambi Devikum Pailikum Ora Pustakam Koduthu. So this is a very overtly distributive construction in Malayalam, and even in this sentence, it's infelicitous to say it is to Paili that Karambi gave a book to, or something like that. So it is actually exhaustive focus that Anna encodes. And then I test the construction for all sorts of distributional restrictions that Kish talks about, like quantification elements cannot occupy the exhaustive focus position, and also phrase cannot occupy the exhaustive focus position, etc. And all the tests really do hold, and it is the exhaustive focus that Anna encodes. And now the question is, where does the verb go in categorical constructions? So the verb is in its participial form, non-finite, and the verb actually can be specified for tense interpretation, present or past, as in 69 and 70. Priyaye aana Rajan kandathu, and that's the there the verb is in the past participial form, and in 70, Priyaye aana Rajan kanunnathu. So there the verb is in the present participial form. So at least the tense information is encoded in that. But if you have the verb in it encoding some kind of mood information, as in 71, Rajan Priyaye Kanum. So there the verb appears in the irrealis mood. And this is not amenable to forming a categorical construction. So obviously the verb cannot be moving up to the sea level. And I assume that it is Anna that realizes the focus and finiteness features in these constructions, because the verb is obviously in the non-finite form. So Anna spells out or lexicalizes or realizes the focus and finite features. Now we go to the analysis section, and I would be assuming a very bare minimum of theoretical machinery vis-a-vis the WH here. So I would presume that the WH word carries a feature, call it Q, and this feature causes a crash if it is not associated with a suitable legitimizer in the C domain. So it could be an selective binding, it could be an operator moving, I mean some mechanism, but some counterpart. So there is something on the WH word and there's a counterpart at the C domain, and that needs to be associated. I would be arguing that the island effects occur when this syntactic dependency cannot be established. So that's going to be my proposal. And in order to do that, I would go back to the categorical sentences again and show that the WH in the categorical sentence is grammatical only when it appears right next to the focus marker. So only when it appears in the focus position. So in 77, Aare aana Rajane kandadu, fine, because the WH appears right next to the focus position, and there is a syntactic dependency obtained there. But if you have the WH in a position other than the focus position, as in 79, Rajane aana Aare kandadu, you don't get the syntactic dependency, and the derivation crashes. So it is necessary that you have to be in this kind of a local relation for the WH to be legitimate there. And what happens in the thetic-like sentences where the WH did not move to the C domain? What happens there? How do we obtain this relation? So I'm going to argue that by virtue of the fact that the verb moves overtly to the C domain, the jurisdiction of the C, the relevant C head is extended. Call it face riding, face extension, government transparency, corollary, whatever. But basically the verb is at the C domain, and therefore, even if the WH is not at the C, not directly a specifier of the interrogative C head, it is still within the C commanding domain of the interrogative C, and the dependency relation is obtained. So this would also predict that, I mean, this would also mean that, you know, if we subscribe to the view that V and C are faces, the face boundary of V is getting extended all the way up to C. And this would make the prediction that if the verb does not move to the C domain, and if you actually obtain a facial boundary at the V level, then WH in C2 constructions should be ungrammatical in the language. And that's exactly what we obtain. So if you have, for example, perfective aspect, the verb is in the perfective aspect, and in these constructions, the finiteness and the finiteness is actually spelled out by another auxiliary. And as in 82, Rajan Priyaye kandittundu, Rajan has seen Priya. And in these constructions, WH in C2 are actually ungrammatical. So in 83, Rajan Aare kandittundu. So if you just have an object WH there, it leads to ungrammaticality. So now, yeah, this would also mean that if you have a relative clause or a finite complement clause, etc., within the C commanding domain of the interrogative C head, then they would not be islands, and they are not islands in Malayalam, just like, you know, Japanese or whatever. And now I will show that the position where the reason adjuncts appear is actually outside the C commanding domain of the C head, and that is what causes the islandhood. So I go back to the categorical constructions, and I show that in 92, for example, if I have the WH in a topic position in a categorical construction, Aara Rajane aanu kandadu. I mean, the sentence is ungrammatical. So if you have the WH in a position where it is not C commanded by the relevant C head, then it results in ungrammaticality. And the fact that these positions are outside the C commanding, these positions are not conducive to establishing a syntactic dependency between the WH and the relevant C head. I mean, this is actually substantiated from the NPI licensing facts as well. So if I have an NPI in a topic position, then the sentence crashes. So in a categorical sentence, you have two positions where you can insert the negation, one at the non-finite verb and the second one at the head that spells out the C features. So in 93, I have the negation on the non-finite verb, which is obviously below the focus position. So I have an NPI element, aarum, which is italicized, occupying a phrase in the focus position, and the negation on the non-finite verb, which is much below, and the sentence is ungrammatical. In 94, I placed the negation on the C head, but the phrase that contains the NPI is at a topic position, is not directly at the focus position, and the sentence is ungrammatical again. And in 95, when the negation is on the focus head, and the NPI, the phrase containing the NPI appears at the focus position, the sentence is grammatical. So there is indeed a lack of a problem to establishing a syntactic dependency when phrases appear in the topic position. And this is actually, this topic position is where the reason adjuncts go to in a thetic-like construction. So in 96, I want to remind you of the constructions that we were talking about earlier. Mandri nirbandhichadu kondu police avane arrest cheyidu. Police arrested him because the minister forced them to act. And here, in 98, where the WH is inside the reason adjunct, actually the reason adjunct is sitting at the topic position that is above the relevant C head, and it cannot enter into a syntactic dependency with the relevant interrogative head, and that is what causes the island effect for WH interpretation in these sentences. And how do I know that I can't scramble it to another position or something? Well, in 97, I show that if the reason adjunct clause appears anywhere other than the topic, other than the left edge, the sentence is bad. So it is evidently merged really high at the C level. And of course, Tsai 2008 also talks about reason adjunct clauses. And a prediction that this makes is that if you have adjuncts that are merged within the C commanding domain of the relevant C head in a thetic-like construction, then those should be fine. And that's what we actually obtain. So if we have a manner or an instrumental adjunct, like in 99, Rajan Pashuvine Arada Guda Konduvoi Kulupichu. So here you have a manner instrumental adjunct that is adjoined to the VP level, and that adjunct is absolutely fine. So when you have, so it is actually the position where the reason adjunct appears in a thetic-like construction, where it cannot enter into a syntactic dependency that kind of gives you the island effect in Malayalam at least. And yeah, that's what I was trying desperately to convince you.
This is essentially a clarification question. Can you tell me exactly what structure you assume for like 100, so that Anu actually C commands the. I would be much helped with, like, if you could draw a tree or something so that I can understand how Anu C commands the adjunct here.
Oh, I presume that the adjunct occupies, I mean, Ana spells out the focus, for example. I mean, to put it very in a simplified manner. So Ana is the focus head and the adjunct would be at the specifier of focus. So that was the...
Okay, so that's not actually C command, right? But
no, but it is in a, I mean, the spec head relation enables it to enter into a syntactic dependency is what I...
Okay, and why is that not possible in 98?
In 98? Oh, in 98 it's a thetic construction. So this is a topic position, and the topic position, I presume, actually C commands. It's not into a spec head relation either. So I presume there's a null topic head or something, and it's above the verb that has moved to C. It's the other construction. 98.
Right, I understand that, but so it's not really about the position in which the. I thought what you wanted to say is that with your comparison between the because adjunct and the instrumental and stuff, was that the sort of the position into which the because clause has to be merged, namely very, very high, precludes the relevant association between C and the WH. But so what accounts for the fact that it
can appear at the focus position?
That in 98 it has to be higher than in 100. In
100, I would presume that it's straight away merged at the focus position. I mean, that's what I would assume, because it's really the left edge that counts as the topic even in the categorical construction. So if you have an element, I mean the left edge at the left of the focused element, then that is what counts as the topic. So I would presume that in 100 the reason adjunct is directly merged at the focus position. And in topic-like constructions, in topic, when it appears as the topic, it's actually merged higher. So that's what I was assuming. Sorry.
Okay.
I also have a data question. So could you tell me, so from 96 or 100, the same. So there is no word introducing the because adjunct. So the reason adjunct. So there is no lexical item expressing the reason.
It's actually the end part atu konda.
N. No, because from the gloss it seems like a coordinate structure. I mean,
it's the adukonda part that generally it's a bit,
so this with.
Yeah, with, and it's like that with or with that. Yes, it's something like
so
that.
So atu would be like a demonstrative. No.
Yes.
Okay. So this demonstrative plus with.
Yes.
Would be typical of reason only unambiguously giving the reason interpretation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess this is a clarification question as well. As other people, I was surprised by the fact that you cannot have what looks like simple coordination of two finite clauses, which is a very, I mean, unexpected from the point of view of other languages fact. So I don't, I mean, as far as I understood, you propose a sort of across the board extraction of the verb.
Sorry?
Your analysis for the actual coordination that you can get is a sort of across the board extraction of the verb out of the two. But then you do not have a source for this, so you see just across the board structure, but you cannot see the source. Did I understand correctly, or?
Actually, I haven't tried to think about it in relation to ATB. So I'll have to.
Okay. And the other, just question about data. About the fact that you cannot have a subject in its, say, canonical position in
16?
Yes, where was it? Yes, 16. And you said that has to do with the linking or specificity or whatever. The question data is it possible that the split is between a WH phrase and a WH word, or it's a interpretative thing? So can you have a case in which you have...
So I see, for example, in 28 or what is it? Yeah. Or in 22. So in 22, if I can have a quantifier add-on, when it's on the WH, then it can appear at the left edge position. So Aarokke Rajane Kandu, who all.
Okay.
So it's actually partitive specificity in that. So if you have a discourse given set of people, and of that set, who are the people who saw X?
Okay.
So in that kind of, if you have some add-ons, then it can. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I had a clarification question too. In 50, you have the verb can do. It does not have any agreement.
No.
So, but
it's in the categorical constructions you get the 5 feature morphology.
In this one.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, because I was thinking about history.
And about the 5 feature morphology, actually, it does not co-vary with. It's a kind of default morphology that appears on the verb. It does not really show any co-variation with anything in focus or in topic or anything in the sentence actually. So the 5 feature morphology just appears on the verb, kind of a default agreement. Malayalam historically had agreement and it lost it. So I don't know if it's I really haven't really. I just started working on it and I'm yet to figure out those kind of. I'm sorry about that. But that's the thing about the 5 feature morphology that appears. So that's why I didn't call it agreement. I just lost it as singular neuter because I'm not yet sure if I can call it default agreement or agreement. It just does not co-vary.
I was thinking about his question because if 50 is actually a case of right not racing, which is across the board to the right. Some languages, head final languages, in these cases, crucially have plural agreement in context in which you have two singular elements in the two positions. So, but of course, in this case, you can't check that, right? And that could tell you something with respect to what you were saying, whether it has actually been extracted from both or not.
Yeah, but.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.